afternoon. You know, on Thursdays here on this Facebook Live podcast, what we talk about is targeting the violence on ways to better our community and reach our children. We're seeing a lot of problems with our kids lately, and I think we're doing a little bit better in this city. Just a little bit, which is great. And we're going to jump right in with my guest. Y'all know John Young. We've got John Forward. They are Men United Against Violence, which is an organization that started, about a year ago?
A year ago, August.
A year ago, August, because we had so much violence going on in our community. And y'all have done quite a bit. I mean, you've been on the show a couple times, but today it's something really big that you're doing. You're kind of doing a funeral of sorts. Let's talk about that.
It is. It's very personal. Men United Against Violence is stating bury the N-word. It's such a horrible word that we won't speak it publicly, we won't write it in print, and we bleep it out of our music and movies. So why is it still alive if we know how degrading it is? So our message is, let's bury it, because what you think about yourself and say about yourself, you will become. And young black men nationwide, but since we live in Mobile, have adopted this disgusting name and made it their personality, made it their reality. So much so that they are no longer ashamed to speak it publicly, so much so that they're no longer ashamed to behave that way, which is leading to our violence. So we're saying bury the N-word, replace it with something else. Replace it with nice or polite or kind, brother, anything other than that, because from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh.
Now, when we grew up in a different period that we knew that was a word that was not used, and it had all types of negative connotation with it. Do you think these kids nowadays, because they hear it so much, they don't look at it as negative? Is that why they're saying it so much?
Well, no, they don't, Drew. Aren't they saying that I've taken something bad and made it good?
Right. And somehow, or it's become a term of endearment, right? It's come to mean my significant other. It's come to mean everything except for what it was originally intended for, right? But let's say, for example, if you don't want one person to say it to you, then you shouldn't say it about yourself. It's really just that simple.
And that's what we say, and that's something that I've told my kids all the time. But you're right. It has become a word of endearment. When I hear a lot of these young people talking now and talking to each other, they're like, my N-word, this, my new, and they're talking it like, that's their good friend, and that's what they're calling their good friends.
How could they be fooled so easily? Who but the devil would trick a person into saying something about themselves? What person besides an evil person, demonic person, would popularize a word like this, convince 2 or 3 generations that's what you are? That's what we're dealing with right now. These young black men in Mobile have been fooled, and they've adopted it and believe it and embrace it now. As a result, if you are that, then you are not a human being to me. If you are that, then I can shoot into your house where your parents are. If you are that, I don't care about shooting at your funeral or your vigil service. What has possessed black men, young and old, to behave this way? What made us give up our dignity and pride that so many, do you mean to tell me MLK died so we can call ourselves this?
No.
Did Malcolm X die? Medgar Evans, did they die so we can call ourselves this? Did we finally get a black president so we could call ourselves this? Is this the equality that we looked for? I like to think not. And I'm disappointed that there should be more people standing up, shouting from the rooftop. It's time for us to stop saying this about ourselves. You can't be a king one century and then the N-word the next. It's high time we just become men. Holy men preferably, but most of all men.
Well, it's in the community now. Everybody's saying it. You hear it from music. You hear it, some people saying it in different movies, on TVs. And so they've accepted that this is okay, where you need to be in your home as a parent telling your children that's not okay, but you're hearing some of your parents say it.
Well, right, Drew, isn't that where the greatest influence for this comes from, is the home?
Absolutely. The problem is that we've embraced this subculture of violence that we see in hip-hop music, in movies, in pop culture in general. And it was supposed to be entertainment. It wasn't supposed to become a lifestyle, a way of life for anybody. I will say I grew up listening to some rap music, right? But I never once thought, let me go out and live that, right? We should know better. Mm-hmm. And if we had parents in the home, if we had fathers teaching their children and along with the mother, then we would get much better results.
And to you black men in Mobile, if you're still wearing your pants down with your underwear showing, you're a child. If you're dressing like you're a child, you're not setting a role model example as an adult, you're a child. You're a part of the problem. If you speak like this in front of your children and use this terminology and listen to this music, you're part of the problem. It's time for us to grow up and take our responsibility. I don't care who I offend. I played nice, but we need to grow up, black man. These are our families, our neighborhoods, and our communities. Our kids are failing in school. That's our fault. I'm giving white people a free pass. You're no longer responsible. Don't have any sympathy or feel bad about what happened. Now it's time for us to take advantage of the sacrifices that were made for hundreds of years. And now it's back up to us black men. The same black men that raised us in the 60s and 70s need to step up now and start raising their kids now. We have better role models than rappers. We have better role models than athletes. Let's be the men that we're supposed to be. If you're a king, start acting like it.
Those are some strong words there.
I mean every word of it. Leave John out of it. These are John Young's words. Leave Drew out of it. If anyone disagrees with me, call me and we'll talk about it. But if you're not standing up telling black men to leave their families and their homes again, you're a part of the problem too. We've played nice for too long, Kym, and look at where it's gotten us. 80% of our black children are born outside of wedlock. The number one cause of death for black men between the age of 15 and 35 is homicide. Look at the results of our failed families, black men, and that's our fault. I didn't say your fault. I said our fault because I have to be a better role model too.
And our kids do need role models. Our kids have, I mean, it's been proven. They have to have a family structure. They have to have people who look like them, boys with men in their lives. I mean, they come out better that way.
Drew, didn't that get us through slavery and segregation, black fathers raising black children with black mothers? Listen, isn't that what made us strong at one point, worshiping God together?
Yeah, absolutely. And I grew up going to church. My grandfather, his name's James Fowler. He's the oldest member of our church currently, 92 years old. So that's the way that I was raised. That's the way that you were raised, and the same with you. And so we see the benefits of education, discipline, right? But we have to get back to those things, and we've gotten away from it for so long that we just don't care how we treat one another anymore. We've got to get back to treating each other with dignity and respect. If we don't do that, then we're lost.
And Kym, it starts with stop calling yourself something so derogatory.
Right.
If you call yourself something derogatory, if women call themselves, you behave that way. When black women call themselves bees and hoes, and I'm having a girl weekend and I'm living, that's what you behave like. Right. If a black man's in the home telling his black daughter, my daddy's little girl ain't no hoe, and daddy's little boy ain't no punk, that's where it begins, the foundation. Yep. The support comes from the community of like-minded people, but it begins at home. And yeah, I'm looking into the camera, and I'm saying it to you, whoever it applies to, the hit dog hollers the loudest. If you're being provoked right now inside your spirit, is it because I'm lying, or is it because you need to change? So let's be honest about this, Kym. From now on, let's hold each other. Drew is one of my best friends in all the world. We don't let each other get away with anything because we have a higher responsibility, not just our duty to our job and our profession, but our citizens, our family, our churches, our communities. We know we're the backbone, and if we fail, all these other things fail.
Exactly.
So black men in Mobile need to realize the failures in our homes and community, it isn't Donald Trump or some ism, racism, whiteism, leftism. It isn't that. If Black Lives Matter so much, why aren't you mad when a black man kills another black man? Why aren't you mad about the 3 black women killed by black men this year? If Black Lives Matter so much, why aren't you at the school board saying, why can't our kids read, write, and count? If Black Lives Matter so much, why do you sit around waiting for the 1 out of 100 homicides that involves a white person killing a black person when you should be mad about every black person
Every
killed?
single one of them.
Every life.
Every life. I mean, why, Drew, what am I missing? You're far more intelligent than I am. What am I missing?
You sound like you're right on to me.
All right, Kym, what am I missing?
I don't think you're missing anything. I think you're hitting right at the core.
I'm sorry, I'm so mad.
No, and I understand. You can show your passion, and you tell your passion. You see you're passionate, and you care about it. We need more people to care. We need more people to want to stand up. I know there's some classes that some of these young kids need to take with parenting classes. There's things available. There's resources available. We just have to find a way, and you're doing the right thing now by getting that through to them. You know what? Make a change.
Right.
Make a change.
And let's talk about education, because the parents, we have to take responsibility for our child's education. We do. Too often we leave it all on the teacher. Oh, it's the teacher's responsibility to teach my kid this, that, and the other. And if they're not learning it, then it's their fault. Well, that's not true, because you have to work with your child at home. You have to teach them at home. If they're not getting it, a lot of it is on the parent.
And you can't always jump on the teacher.
No.
A lot of parents want to jump on the teachers, thinking that the teacher's fault, and they know that their kids have fault, but yeah, their kids can't do anything, and that's a whole nother
Right.
podcast that we can talk about, because I live with an educator, and these teachers care, but they get frustrated when they're fighting not just the student, but they're fighting the parent as well.
Listen, how can a teacher teach ABCs and 1, 2, 3s if they have to teach your child hygiene? If they have to teach your child how to show up on time, if they have to make sure your child is fed. These little girls are coming and don't understand why their bodies are changing. Mom's not taking the time out to explain it. Mom can't tell a little boy what's going on with his body when it changes. She didn't experience that. The teachers are taking on more responsibilities than they have to. It comes back again to black men raising their black children. It comes back again to black men marrying their black wives. Stop making black babies, Nick Cannon. Stop glamorizing baby mamas. Since when is that something? Why do we give a 13-year-old girl a baby shower? There are more funerals in black churches than weddings, because after your son goes out and sells dope and gets killed, you want to bring him into the church and let the preacher lie and say he's somewhere in heaven. That's the kind of nonsense that we bought into. That's why we're saying bury the N-word on July 8th and 9th, that weekend. Have a church service, have a church ceremony. I gave you some of the churches participating.
Yes, and we have that. And again, let's get that date real quick. July 8th and 9th, and let's talk about it. You're going to literally, at some of these churches that you'll see here, they're going to have a funeral service for the N-word.
That's right. They're going to have a funeral service. I'll be at the service in Whistler at about 11 a.m. I'm going to make my way around. I'm sure Drew will go with me, but we're going to have a funeral service, and it won't be a sad, somber service. We're going to celebrate putting his word into the ground. We're going to have a great repast. We're going to have a great meal and celebrate it. Susan and Elizabeth at Lamar Signs have put us at the front of their work list, and they're going to have a billboard up for us.
We have that billboard too. We've got a exclusive preview of the billboards you're going to see around the city. If we can get that up, Ed, there you go. And so when you see this, don't be surprised, don't be shocked, because you're hearing it here on this Facebook Live. Bury the N-word campaign, July 8th and 9th throughout the city of Mobile, and it's time. And don't be afraid to speak up and tell them, because my kids know never to say that in our house. That knows, and I better not hear them say it, period, anywhere else.
And we know it's a bad word because it isn't spoken. They say the N-word. They don't put it in type. They bleep it out of songs. So we know it's a terrible word. We know what it implies and what it states. How could we have been fooled so badly to embrace such the worst historically derogatory term referring to black people?
Right.
And make it something beautiful. Dummy. Why don't you make that one beautiful? We can't even say the R-E-T-A-R-D word anymore in public, can we?
Right.
That was canceled. Nope. Why hasn't the N-word been canceled?
You're right, and my daughter's quick to tell you that. You can't say that.
Right. Would you ever let your daughters call themselves the B word?
Nope.
Would you ever refer to another woman as the B word?
No.
Once upon a time, if you said that to a woman, you better have a running head start and hope that there's no woman in between you and where you're trying to go.
That's right.
Right now, women shouted across the mall at each other as a term of affection. Mm-hmm. And then they call their boyfriend the N-word. Mm-hmm,
they call their little children. I am not a dog, so you better not
Get
call
out
me
of
that.
here. They call their little children, come on here, little N. We've lost our minds as black people in this city. I said it. If you're not thinking it, now you are. We've lost our doggone minds. And the only way to get it back, Drew, is if black men grow up and take back their roles and their duties and responsibilities. Family, education, employment, and discipline, right?
That's right.
Well, if nobody's told you, you two, y'all are very appreciated in the community for what you're trying to do to change the community and change the mindset, because we've got to have men to step up for our children. We have to.
Last November, Drew, what did we have? 50, 60 men?
Yes, something like
that.
Go
with us to Bienville Square, and these were men of different ethnicities, professions, backgrounds, income, but they love their family, they love their city, and they love God. And we're saying, this is what it takes. 100 children, young people showed up at Saucy Q in March for our job fair with Austell. Thank those guys out there for showing up. Thank the people at Saucy Q for providing lunch. More than 100 kids in 3 hours.
That's awesome.
Christ
So you
told us.
have people crying out. You've
Oh,
got
yes.
kids that want, they just don't know.
They don't
what
know.
to do.
They need more people like John Andrew Ford.
You know,
Thanks, John.
people want to change. We can all get behind the idea of burying the N word, stopping the B word, quitting calling each other hoes, right? We can all get behind that idea. We can all get behind the idea of reducing the violence in our city because we all want to live safely, right? So if we get more like-minded people, more like-minded individuals to stand up and say the same things that John is saying, right? That you're saying, that I'm saying. If we can all get on the same page, we can shame people that won't get on board into doing it. I guarantee you we can.
You know, Kim, why the worst singer in the church choirs is the loudest? Because all the good singers won't sing louder. That's why all these people with these dumb ideas and dilemmas and doctrines are being heard. This 1% that's saying abominable things and treating people this harshly, because the people that know good won't. The
They
only
sit
thing,
back and they're silent.
Right.
and that means that you've acquiesced, your silence. The only good thing it takes for evil to prevail are for good men to do nothing. And we are saying right now it's time for good men to stop doing nothing. That's
right.
That's it.
Because we do have a lot of great men. We have a lot of great men in the city, in the county, in the state. It is. You've got to step up, and you can't just be in your little home secluded.
Stop waiting for the preachers and politicians to solve your problems. If they were going to solve it by now, they would have. If a political platform or dogma or doctrine was going to solve your problems, if electing this person who looks like you was going to solve your problems, it would have. This is an us problem, and only we can solve it.
And I'm going to say it. I know y'all are police officers, so don't get offended, but you can't wait on the police officers either. You need to raise your kids so the police don't get involved.
Teach your kids first how not to have contact with police before you teach them what to do when they do have contact. Drew, is that about right?
That's exactly
all the
right.
stuff you did in high school when you were young before you got saved. Weren't you out there doing things and avoiding the police?
Absolutely.
Have you ever been handcuffed?
No.
Have you ever gone to jail?
Never gone to jail at all.
Has anyone ever called the police on you?
Well, yeah.
Well, were you guilty?
I wasn't.
Okay. But my point is that you're not out doing things, smoking marijuana, playing loud music at 3 o'clock in the morning, driving through neighborhoods to make somebody call the police on you. That takes
I'm
a
not going to
dad
draw
to
that type of attention to
Dad
myself.
told
Neither are
you that. Dad told you
sure.
that.
It did.
Dad, when guys tried to court you, Dad was there smoking them over, as my grandmother would say. They was checking this guy out.
Oh, he'd come, and my dad had a big scuba diving knife like this. And then he was like, you better be in that house at 11:59, because nothing is outside of this house at midnight except for the
Right.
devil's playground.
Right.
And I mean, my house was strict, because for every minute that I was late past midnight, that was one weekend I was not going out.
Right.
So at 11:59, I was in the house.
Because daddy's little girl's not going to have that reputation.
That's right.
Exactly.
And that's what men, and you already know, I can take the safeties off and I start blasting away. And when I do, it's the truth. I dare anyone to challenge us on our message. My personal cell phone number is 251-513-4179. Our website is
Men United Against Violence. It's our Facebook page, MUAV.
So if you have questions for us, we'll be happy. We travel. We're happy to meet you anywhere and have this conversation.
Certainly.
And try to hash out a solution to the problem. Like my brother said, we all want less violence, right?
We do.
So let's sit down and all come to a conclusion about how to solve it. But one thing I will not tolerate or even consider is that it's white people's fault that we are in this state. It's our fault.
You always have to look within yourself. That's a devotion that I read this morning.
That's it.
Let's put that back up on the screen, though, the churches that will be involved. Do we know the times yet from those different churches, or you just need to call the church and find out what time those funeral services will be held?
Please, I know the one in Whistler's at 11 o'clock on Sunday the 9th with Pastor Finkley. With Pastor Reeves and Pastor King, you'll have to check, but I'm certain theirs is on Sunday also. But I want to remind everyone on the 10th of July, our billboard goes up at Azalea Road and Michael Boulevard. So I'll be there that day at that intersection, rallying, standing up underneath that billboard, pointing to it, and everyone that drives by, just look at it. It speaks for itself. It speaks for itself in an area of the city where there's a high school and middle school in that area. We have a high concentration of young black men in that area. And I'm starting with the men. Look, we can all agree that we need less violence. This is one piece of that cure.
Can they come out with you and stand by the billboard?
The more the merrier. The more the merrier. It's July. Now it's going to be hot and humid.
Bring your little handheld fans.
Right. It's going to feel like
we're used to it.
It's going to feel like Lizzo in a hatchback Prius outside, but we can drink water, and it's for a good cause. You'll stand outside at the fair. You'll stand out in the freezing cold at Mardi Gras. This is a very good cause. Come out and sweat together.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Guys, I appreciate you coming on again today. This is a great campaign. It's a great effort for the city. And you know, I'm always open for anything that y'all have going on. I'd love to do it. Hopefully we'll do a march again this year.
Oh, yes, yes.
Love to see that happen.
Bigger and better. Bigger and better.
Great. Again, as we're going out today, we're going to put those billboards up on what churches are involved and where you can go for July 9th, that Sunday, for the Bury the N-Word funeral. We'd love to have people come out and support. And also July 10th, out at Azalea and Michael, that's when the billboard will come up. So again, we know this is going to be successful, and it's going to help turn our city around.
We really appreciate you having us on.
All right. Thank
Thank
you, guys. John, I appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you week after next. Have a happy 4th of July.